Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Robert with Sherburne Outdoors, and today we're continuing our conversation on power stations. Today we're talking about the EGRETECH Sonic 1200 watt. Now, full disclosure, EGRETECH did send this to me. I did not purchase this with my own money, but I will tell you, this is a pretty good power station. Before we get out of the way, this thing is $399. That is crazy. That is, I don't call it cheap because there's a ton of value in here, but I love when a market gets mature like this power station. Like it started out with Jackery and they were super expensive. And now we got a lot of players out there. Now we got a lot of crap out there too, but this is really good stuff. So you can hit their website, or they've got different ways they get out on Amazon as well. I will tell you, I was on Amazon last night and they had a flash sale, and this thing was on sale for $339 that you can get it. Usually it's around 400 bucks there. There's a coupon code. So a link in the description below will get you there. But let's talk about this thing. So it is a 999 watt hour power station. Why they couldn't go to the 1,000 watts, I don't know. But hey, anyway. So I always compare this to my Blue Eddy 180 over here, AC 180. That to me is the gold standard of power stations, and it is expensive. With all the stuff that I've added to it, mobile apps and everything, it is great. But do you need all of that? You know, do you need a no frills? You know, recently I did a whole series on set power refrigerator, which is now my go-to. It's the no frills, very value centric, that you can get a lot of value out of it for not a lot of price. This is exactly the same. So again, this is a 1,000 watt hour battery. They call it 1,200 watts output, hence the name of the Sonic 1,200 watts. It's about 23 pounds, or they say 22.9. You know, it's a big battery. What can I say? It's gonna have a little weight to it. I love this cube shape. Sometimes these come in weird shapes and stuff. So this is about the size of a car battery. You can fit it in different places and spots. It's just great. Love this cube shape. Again, it's got 1,200 watt output capability on AC, and it will go up to 2,400 watts as well. And it has some neat technology for their battery management system built in, where it just doesn't spike over. If it's possible, it will start ramping down, and we'll test this a little bit. I've got a water kettle here, and then I've got a heat gun. It did come well packaged, I will say. It came with a box inside of a box. This one has a lot of stuff on it you can read about. What else has it got? It's got 8 outputs. So obviously this is a power station. We expect it to produce things out. So I have been in need of more power when I'm out and about. I will say, we got this one, but as I've gotten into Starlink and all the things that I have and staying out longer, a secondary battery that is a little bit bigger, I've been wanting to have, versus putting house batteries into the Gladiator. We haven't got it. So I think this actually on a bigger spot may actually facilitate that for me for moving around. It's got a nice built-in handle as well that you can just lay down. So of the outputs, it does have the car outputs. It's got a wireless charging port up front. It's got 4 USB ports, which is not uncommon, but what I do like is it does have 2 USB-Cs. This is always a huge pet peeve of mine on power stations. Not one power station that I have that I received from any vendor, other than the Blue Eddy that I paid for, which also doesn't have it, they only have 1 USB-C port on it. I guess that's for, because they're probably expensive, but this one comes with 200 watt ports, which is pretty sweet. It's got 2 USB ports, USB-As that are 24 watts, and then it's got 2 ACs on the side. So they actually do utilize all the sides of this. And then it does come with the built-in light bar right here. Every one of these things has to have a light. I don't know what that's about. It is fairly robust. We'll look around it here in a second. Now, this is one thing I like a lot. It will charge in under 2 hours. It'll go up to 80% in 1 hour, and then the remainder of that, they say it's like 1.69 hours, whatever. Under 2 hours, it'll get to the full 100%. So it does have a lot of fast charging capabilities built into it. Let's talk about the no frills part of this. There's no app. So everything has an app now. My refrigerators have an app. Everything has an app. This has an app. My AC unit has an app that we're dealing with. This has no app. So when you're talking about a $399 unit, there's going to be no frills. Do you need an app for your power stations? Everyone seems to make you think you do need it. I hardly ever use it. I am great with this. The set power refrigerator that I went to, this no frills, also doesn't have an app, and I don't feel like I've lost anything. So what can this thing charge? So I did hook it up to my set power refrigerator, and let it go for a couple days to see how it would be, you know, what I would expect to see. We got 59 hours out of that. Just having both sides in fridge mode with this thing, with no additional power. Just, you know, how long would it go? Well, I tell you what, let's look around this thing, and then let's power up the kettle here, and let's power up, you know, the heat gun, and see how this operates, so you can kind of see how it pulls and how it interacts, and then we'll talk about some disadvantages with the no pass-through charging. That may be a concern for a lot of people. All right, so this is the unit. Again, it looks kind of like a car battery. Up top here, we've got a wireless charging pad. We've got two USB-C-A's here. They're 24 watts, and then we got two USB-C here that are 100 watts. It's got a nice digital display. It's compact, I'll say. Let me know we're at 99%, how many hours we got left. And then it does have icons down here for what's been charged on. So if I reach over here and turn on the AC, you can see it pops in here. We've got our DC output, or your cigarette charger, whatever you want to call that. We do have a light up top here, so you can turn on a light. It's got a couple different versions of that, high and then flashing, and you know, all of that. And on the side over here, we do have our AC ports. You know, pretty simple. And then we've got our input ports. Con here, it's got this little flimsy plastic thing that pops up here. And then underneath here, we do have our AC in and then our DC in, which you can get from a car charger or from a solar. What does it come with? Out of the box, we do have a DC car charger that you can plug in. It's got that type of port. And then we got your standard AC thing. I love that these don't have those power bricks anymore, that all the technology is built in. Let's hook up a couple things and see how well this thing powers up and see how it operates. All right, we got some water boiling now. Some steam's coming out. We are still sitting at about 500 watts coming out of the power station. And, you know, this thing works great. We're down about 4% off of that. So we're boiling water. Maybe we're having lunch. Maybe we're making soup, whatever. God, I love the form factor of how small this is. Look how small this is compared to the Blue Eddy. It's much bigger. I mean, I realize the Blue Eddy has 20% more power in it, but that's a lot bigger than this. So this is basics. So that's boiling water. I tell you what, let's turn on this heat gun. Let's go on just low. You can see here we're starting to get up into that 840, 843 range. Now if we take this a little bit higher and go up, even though this is a 1200 watt unit output, it'll go up to 2400. And so we're at 1524. Now the thing I want you to watch here in a second is this will start ramping down. It won't cut off, it won't air out, it will just back off. So you can hear this thing kind of going down. And so this is going down to its natural 1200 watt output. And so if the unit will continue on, it just gives it less power, which is pretty freaking awesome, actually. So a lot of units, including that Blue Eddy over there, it's all or none. It'll go for a period of time. Now, one thing I do want to note is the fan has kicked on. Now it's kicked off a little bit. It is a little loud as far as what's recharging. Now let's talk about some other stuff. Now actually doing the DC charge is, you know, it's pretty simple. You just pop it up here, you know, it comes up and now your phone is charging at that point and it's doing its stuff. The outputs work like you would expect them to do on the outputs. All right, let's go ahead and put in a 120 charge. And so now we can see our inputs are coming in and this thing is charging. And I still do have my DC charging. You see here we are green. But one thing I cannot do is turn on the AC outputs. It will not do pass-through charging, which is, you know, it really depends on what your setup is that you have out when you're doing. If you have your refrigerators going through the DC, you'll be fine. If you haven't gone through the AC, you need to really think about this or have a secondary battery. I'll tell you, I'm pretty impressed with this EGRETECH Sonic 1200 watt power station. Again, I didn't pay for this, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to use it. Usually I give this stuff away, but I think I want to keep this. This is just a nice device. I love that it's the size of a car battery. It is significantly smaller than the Blue Eddy AC180. That's not going anywhere. I will continue that, but this is going to get thrown into the Gladiator, and we're going to start using this around camp. It's going to help charging everything else. In addition to what I normally have, now we're getting into kettles and electric. I'm starting to do a lot more electric stuff. We've got Starlink out with us. Got a lot more electric devices that we're doing than I've ever done before. Not that camping should be bougie, but it is comfortable nowadays, especially with electric AC, because it's going out this weekend. It's going to be 93 degrees. You'll see this on my next camping trip when we go out in the Cohutta again. So let's kind of do a recap really quick. Again, this weighs about 23 pounds. It's a 1,000 watt hour power station, 999. Some measurements of what it is. Again, it's a cube, kind of like a battery. It's got 8 outputs, 2 USB-A's, 2 USB-C's, which is a huge pro. It's got the DC out, it's got the light, and it's got the 2 ACs on the side for 1,200 watts. Let's talk about some of the pros. The cost, $399. Holy smokes, is that cheap? I think I would buy this if they didn't even send it to me. Just because having that extra thing, you're looking at basically 40 cents per watt hour at this point in time, which is very different than what it was just a couple of years ago. That is just crazy. The shape, I like that this is just a square, pops straight up. It's nice. The 2 USB-Cs, that is a huge pro for me. Everything comes with USB-Cs now. I understand the USB-A's, but just having one port on there with some of the other ones are great. Now we're moving up to 2. I see that changing in the future. 2-hour charging. You know what? The battery management system in here is really good for a value unit. 2-hour solar input, that's nice as well. You can go up to 200 watts of solar in here. You're looking at about 6 hours of charging at that point in time. It does have the car charging. If you want to put it in the cigarette lighter, you're probably looking at more like a 10-hour. What are some of the cons? You know, obviously this little cheap door on the side, I think that'll go soon, but I don't think that's a con because this is a value unit. If that was coming on the Blue Eddy, it would be a huge red flag for me, but we're what I would call a disposable unit. I don't say it's disposable $400, but it's, it's not going to make your heart cringe that you just paid $1,000 for it. Power pass through, so you can't charge it and use the AC outputs at the same time. Is that a pro or con? You know what? It doesn't bother me at all. I don't use a lot of AC out when I'm driving around or doing anything. I use a lot of DC power just because it's a lot more efficient. I love having the ACs and I use them from time to time, but that's not a big deal for me. It is a little loud when the fans kick in, when it's charging and that kind of stuff. Is that a big deal for me? Not really. And so those are my minimum cons. I could probably come up with some more, but again, we're dealing with a value unit, $399. That is just, it's still mind-blowing to me. So I am a big fan of this EGRETECH at this point in time. So that's all the dirtiness of it, which is not a lot. So again, this is the EGRETECH Sonic 1200 watt power station. There's some links below, both to their website and also to Amazon. Lots of availability. It ships quick, good packaging. Seems to be a well-built product. Hey, if you got any value out of this, please click that like button. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click that bell to be notified when we got new content. I try to come out with stuff every single week. Again, I am Robert with Sherburne Outdoors. Thank you for your time. Everybody have a great day.